Hi there. I'm P-Dog Knight, or as I'm known on the internet. My name's Marty, but I go by P-Dog Knight on the internet. And for a minute there, just 1 minute, this whole mess was about a man named George Floyd. Now, was George Floyd a perfect man? I don't know. I guess we'll never know. I mean, he was apparently his family loved him. He was a decent guy. He had his issues, but he was, the fact that he was killed the way he was is what we should be talking about, right? But we're not going to talk about that today because I do a current event show. And pretty much the events that are current have almost nothing to do with George Floyd. And that is unfortunate. We're going to talk about a lot of other stuff that is related tangentially to George Floyd. But I thought it was important that I start this show by saying the name George Floyd. Now, Lady Boomer and I took a little trip on Saturday. We went down to my son's house, which is about 4 blocks off of Lake Street, which is the street that is the epicenter of the protests and the destruction, rioting, and all that stuff. But I'm going to distinguish between the two because we just wanted to check on his house. By the way, it was fine. Also, you don't have to worry about us. We live 15 miles away from most of this stuff in a second, third ring suburb of the Twin Cities. Although there may be some trouble in my fine little town too soon. And but anyway, we went down to Minneapolis, drove around. We saw a bunch of people with signs walking in one direction, figuring there was going to be another protest or rally or whatever you want to call it. It was more of a vigil. And we decided to go, hey, let's go check it out. Let's go park on the street and go check it out. So we did that. And if you were here on Saturday, some of you were here on Saturday, you know that I kind of put the protesters, or excuse me, the participants, let's say the participants of this entire thing, I put it into 3 categories. Category 1 was people who were there just legitimately to protest, to have fellowship, to talk, to have their voices heard in kind of a collective sort of way, just to get together and collecting. And then the second group are the people who are just bent on destruction. The anarchist type, the Antifa type, the people who just, they demand change and this is their opportunity to break shit and say fuck capitalism and fuck the police and fuck you. And just break shit and thinking that will bring about some sort of change that makes sense in this world. Just a hint, it doesn't. It won't. Although, well, who knows what that's going to do. Then there's the third group is just kind of the opportunists, the people, oh, hey, these guys are over here. They're going to break shit and I'm going to get some free shit. Those are the 3 main groups. Well, the group we saw on Saturday was rioters, criminals, paid agitators. Yeah, okay, they're in those groups, right? I think that covers them. So we saw the first group when we went down to Minneapolis. This is like 3 p.m. It's on a corner near a Wells Fargo that had been broken into, burned, looted. Right in the corner, right near this Wells Fargo bank, and across from this little strip mall that was all boarded up because it had been burned and shit. And but they're on this intersection that the police had closed off for them, but the police weren't over to be seen. And they were having their protest rally. And these people were the people who remembered George Floyd's name. And I don't know anything about George Floyd. All I know is how he died. And how he died for 1 minute there. And that's the name of the show today. For 1 minute, it was about George Floyd. Everyone agreed that the way he died was fucked up. No doubt about it. Nobody argued with that. No matter what he did, if he had shot somebody in the face, the way George Floyd died was fucked up. And so there was somewhat heartening to, let's see. I'm getting enough. Poor streaming status. I hope I'm not freezing up. Sorry, gang. I don't know if I can fix the settings to make this work better. Unlist live replay on stream. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so you're going to have some choppy visuals for a little bit here. I haven't quite, my internet connection is not working out here, so I'm working off of Wi-Fi. Anyway, the people there were they knew his name. They were having a vigil. There were some Native American dancers that danced a morning dance. There were people, there were speakers. I didn't agree with everything the speaker said, but it was the protesters that were there to be peaceful and just have their voices heard. And I feel bad that everything the rest of the shit I'm going to talk about today is not going to be about them. It's going to be about groups 2 and 3. Although, I do have one video I want to show today that is by a law enforcement officer that I think is pretty illuminating and pretty much kind of what I was saying the other day, but I'd like to have you see that too. I'm seeing some F's. I'm going to ask a question. How bad is it? Because I don't know. Is it just blurry? Okay, let me know in the chat because I'm not. I think it fixes itself. I'm looking at the replay. Oh, I see. It keeps freezing up. Anyway, let's get into the show. Oh, not in regard to the stream. Okay. All right. So let's get into it today. We're gonna start with. Oh, you know what? My intro to the intro has been extremely long, so I'll get back to you after the intro. Play the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog Studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, P. Dog Night. All right, stop the music. I'm back. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, a.k.a. P. Dog Night, as I'm known on the internet. And it is, what's today? Today's Monday, June 1st. It's June. It's close to summertime. On the Morning Night Live, a show that is here Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, 1500 GMT. Welcome if you're just showing up. Can't really tell how many people are in the chat. I keep getting warnings about my bit rate here, so there's chances it'll freeze up. It'll be blurry. I may have some problems, but let's just hope that we'll get through this show today, and I'll figure out all the issues that I'm having. So, and it says open the widget, and I don't know how, I opened the widget, I can't change it. So, yay, I'm getting a warning, but I can't do anything about it. So anyway, it says it's a good connection. We'll run with that. Let's get started. Today, obviously the biggest news is what's happening in the cities around America regarding looting and Wikipedia snip. Oh, I got to say hello to everybody too, but I see that the looting is moving to the suburbs in some cities. Yeah. I've seen on the internet that some of the Antifa people have been saying, let's move this stuff out to the residential areas. And I don't know if it's the suburbs, but definitely the residential areas. I know there was warnings in my suburb because there were some people who said that the guy in Minneapolis who was breaking windows at the AutoZone, they were assuming that he's a cop. And so the internet sleuths have found someone they think looks like this person. And they said that he possibly worked for the police department in my town. Now, the police department in my town saw the internet rumors and have said, no, this officer does not, this person does not work for us. But there is a prominent outlet mall in my town. And I saw one snippet that said, oh yeah, they're looting at the outlet mall in Eagan. And which is right on the edge of our town, and I kind of chuckled. So I drove past there this morning before I came home, and they had it all blocked off, but it didn't look like anything had been happening there. But yeah, they're talking about moving it into the residential areas. Now that is concerning for me, only because one of the residential areas not too far from the epicenter of this in Minneapolis is my son's house. So he was going to come home this over the weekend and just get some stuff out of his house, and because he's, like I said, I've probably said this before, but he's staying up with up at his girlfriend's parents' lake home during the Corona apocalypse, and has been working remotely from there because he can do that, seeing as he's a software engineer, and he can pretty work from anywhere. And so yeah, I'm kind of concerned about that. If they say, "Oh, let's go," of course, if you're familiar with Minnesota and the Twin Cities, one of the largest attractions in the country sits in a town called Bloomington, Minnesota, which is a second-ring suburb south of Minneapolis, known as Bloomington, and that facility is called the Mall of America. And I'm surprised they haven't tried to hold a rally there. Now, the mall's been closed during the Corona apocalypse, but I'm shocked that I was wondering how long it's going to take for them to move their whole rally to Bloomington, like the parking lot of the Mall of America, and then find a way to loot the Mall of America, because there's a lot of shit to loot in that place. Now, let's get something straight when I say that, as I joke about that. Again, I've seen a lot of people who are parts of these protests who want nothing to do with these fuckheads who are out breaking and burning shit. In fact, I've seen many cases where the people who are the protesters are saying, "Hey, no, we don't want you to do that. Why are you doing this?" Because, look, a lot of people are also concerned that, hey, this is going to get blamed on black people, because it's mostly the white Antifa types that are doing all this shit. And, I just, holy shit. MOA, not a retail mall. Well, I think they can still get it. Oh, you mean not like a no, it's an enclosed mall, but I think they could find a way. I know they found a way they're in the mall in Phoenix. That's where that Louis Vuitton store was ransacked. So anyway, but yeah, but my suburb is 15 miles from Minneapolis, from the place where this main protests are going on. There were protests in St. Paul too, but they were not nearly as raucous, so to speak. But anyway, I need to get into some stories. But before I do that, let's say good morning to everyone who's here, because that's what I do. And the first in the chat today was my friend from down under, Richo, who gets the bell. Thank you for being here, sir. Also, good morning to CNN Sucks. Which is something I've been saying a lot this weekend. Good morning, Chi-Town Jay, Cynical Lindsay, D.I. Freighter, Fred Fernstrom, Gunfox 61, Molly Maggs, Stab at Joe Scarborough, Mike Savage. Also, good morning to Wikipedia Snippet, Willie. Hi, Willie. Be free, Willie. Be free. Good morning to Ro. There's my first super chat of the day. It blew my ears out because I forgot how loud I had my headphones on. Thank you. This is Kyle, who says, hello, chat and P-Dog, or chat people and P-Dog. How are you this fine day? Well, Kyle, I am just this tiny bit shy of fantastic. Which is just fine with me. Also, good morning to Cindy Rochelle, Tyler F. Hey, Larry, what's up? Katie did skate. Hey, is here. I always like saying that name. Is here. Donatello Slapafello. Let's see. I'm Smarty Bear. Good morning. I'm getting almost down to the end of this. Select a boy. Who always gets my yeah boy, because that's just, I knew it. I understood what that selected boy is. And good morning, Adam Richard, Maniac Man. I hope I haven't missed anybody yet. Black Hebrew Israelites in the house. Good morning. All right, wait. Okay, I'm getting caught up here. Malia Carr, welcome back. I'm glad you're here again. And I think I'm getting to the end here. Sapphire Dragon. There you go. I think that's if I got everybody yet. Okay, if I missed you, I'll try to catch you as you come into the chat. So anyway, let's get into it. First of all, the President of the United States, unfortunately, because of things that were happening around the White House, so look, when there is a threat to the White House or to the President of the United States, no matter who the President of the United States is, they are taking through the White House tunnel system into whatever they call the bunker or whatever they do. And a lot of people were criticizing the president because, he's hiding in a bunker. Well, you know what? Guess what? That's not the president's choice. That's the Secret Service's call. And seeing as one of the guard shacks at the White House was set on fire, and they did keep people off the White House grounds, but it was not cool. Let's just put it that way. And protocol requires that the Secret Service take the president into the so-called bunker. What did I just? Seamus Derby, how you doing? I see you there. And somebody else came in that while I was talking. Anyway, but however, on was it Thursday or Friday, the president did make a speech at Cape Canaveral when they had this launch for this SpaceX deal. And he said that we will stand with the family of George Floyd. The president seems to remember the guy's name. Fox and Barrett Show. What's up? That's that a new one? Life's gone crazy, and even the president's on lockdown. Yeah, how about that? President Donald Trump gave a speech at Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida yesterday after watching the SpaceX rocket launch, and said, we will stand with the family of George Floyd. Floyd died on March 25th. We know how... Okay, I'm not going to repeat that again and again. Kyra Alexander, what's happening? Let's see. The policemen, and Eric Jones, charged third-degree... Yeah, we know that. President said, in America, justice is never achieved at the hands of an angry mob. Trump said in a speech at the Kennedy Space Center. I will not allow angry mobs to dominate. It won't happen. It is essential that we protect the crown jewel of American democracy, the rule of law, and our independent system of justice. Every citizen in every community has the right to be safe in their workplace, safe in their homes, and safe in our city streets. This is a sacred right of all of Americans that I'm totally determined to defend and will defend. My administration will always stand against violence, mayhem, and disorder. We will stand with the family of George Floyd We will stand with the family of George Floyd, with the peaceful protesters, and with every law-abiding citizen who wants decency, civility, safety, and security. We are working towards a more just society, but that means building up, not tearing down, joining hands, not hurling fists, standing in solidarity, not surrendering to hostility. I'm not going to read the rest of the speech because it's 40-something minutes long, and it would probably take me 40 minutes to read it too. But that is the sentiment from the president. However, the sentiment from other factions of our society are a little different. So there we go. But one thing that the president also did yesterday, which I have mixed feelings about this one, and not because I have any love for this particular organization with a lack of organization, but there's some civil liberties issues that I have with it. But anyway, here we go. Within hours of President Trump pledging to declare Antifa a terrorist organization for the destruction and havoc it helped reap through the nation over the death of George Floyd, the Twitterverse he was going to say that. The Twitterverse has lit up with scores of leftists proudly defending the communist organization. So people are... Anyway. Under the hashtag I am Antifa. I said Antifa, didn't I? Antifa, which, did you know that Antifa stands for anti-fascist? Did you know that? Oh, yeah. And the Democratic People's Republic of Korea stands for democratic. Anyway, under the hashtag I am Antifa, people largely took the organization's name, which stands for anti-fascist. Good morning, Attack Pack and Renee Mayette. At face value, seemingly unaware or proud of its communist roots. How did I know I'd eventually be designated a terrorist in my own country? I am an accomplice here to leverage my privilege and platform in support of movements for social and environmental justice. Also will punch Nazis or help you find a medic, tweeted activist Brian Nolan. Oh, Brian. Oh, you'll punch a Nazi. Oh, how good of you. Yes, Nazis are bad. Oh, good for you. Let's be crystal clear. 1, hashtag Antifa equals anti-fascist. 2, domestic terrorism is overwhelmingly carried out by the right, not the left, tweeted activist Peter Dow. Yeah, whatever, Peter. You see, because no one ever calls what Antifa does domestic terrorism, even though it is. What's weird is that you spelled out what the acronym for this loose movement called Antifa stands for and rewrite Trump's tweet accordingly, it would read, the United States of America will be designating anti-fascists as a terrorist organization, tweeted MSNBC's Joy Reid. Oh, I know, because they're so anti-fascist that they just beat people up and break everyone's shit and cape for communism. Sark off. Antifa is not an organization. Well, that's part of it. That's the part of the problem I have. One, it's loosely an organization. Although they have chapters, they have different areas where they have, they're organized and they have their, communication system and shit like that. Anyway, Antifa is not an organization. This means Trump is classifying anyone who is against fascism as a terrorist. Fascism is defined as, quote, authoritarian ultranationalism characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition. This is how Hitler happened. Hashtag I am Antifa, said one Twitter user. Oh, virtue. I stand in solidarity with Antifa and all activists protesting across the country. Black and brown people have been terrorized by the police for too long. Our racist system needs to be dismantled and rebuilt, tweeted another user. Now, I bet these are some pretty small Twitter feeds if they don't name them. But, you know what, though? A lot of the black people who see you assholes breaking shit, tagging shit, they don't want your help because you're assholes. Oh, did I forget that it was Metal Monday? Holy shit, how'd I do that? Hang on. It's Metal Monday, people, at the Nordic Night Live. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Here we go. Oh, got to turn that up. I can hear it. You can't. There we go. It's Metal Monday on the Morning Night Live. Anyway, back to this article. Yeah, anyway, so all kinds of people were caping for Antifa. In fact, here, Robert O'Brien. Okay, here, that might be a little loud, but hey, it's Metal Monday. It's got to be loud on Metal Monday. Speaking on CNN's State of the Union and ABC's This Week on Sunday, National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien said that Antifa has hijacked the protest to cause damage and destruction, mostly against minority-owned businesses. as they did in Seattle. They have done it as they did in Seattle. They have done it in Portland. They have done it in Berkeley. This is a destructive force of radical. I don't even know if we want to call them leftists. Whatever they are, they're militants who are coming in and burning our cities. And we're going to get to the bottom of it, said O'Brien. It's the violent Antifa radical militants who are coming out under cover of night, traveling across state lines, using military-style tactics to burn down our cities, he said on This Week. And they're especially targeting the most vulnerable parts of our city, George. The minority section, the African-American sections, and the Hispanic areas, and burning down businesses of people that are trying to get a leg up. And the president's outraged by that, and we all are. This has to stop. You know, and even where good morning to the gayest person on YouTube. I see you just walked in. Or whatever that is, figuratively. Okay, my only problem is, when you label someone a terrorist organization, here's my only problem. I don't disagree that they're a destructive factor that, has other goals than to actually really support this movement. They just want to come in and break shit and tear things down and call everything, they want communism, socialism, whatever. Oh, by the way, when we went down, this is a good example. So when we went down to Minneapolis and we're driving down Lake Street, and it's pretty slow because lots of cars there, lots of traffic, they're blocked off certain streets and shit like that. And so as we're driving down, start and stop traffic. And this guy comes up to my truck. I'm driving in my truck, and comes to my truck and here hands me a paper through the window. And I'll actually I'll go through this one tomorrow. I'll make sure I go through this tomorrow. But it was some organization that's saying that we need a revolution and we need communism in America, and it's some organization out of Chicago that's has a bunch of people up here handing out flyers for dog thrapple. I'm sorry, I got distracted by Scribe. Good morning, Scribe. Good morning, Rich at Art. But it's promoting communism. It was the 5-2-6 plan or some shit like that. It had 5 things here, 2 things here, 6 things here, and on the back talking about how we need to have a revolution. And that's what these fucking Antifa fuckers think they're doing. They think they're having a revolution. And right now, everyone is reluctant, especially the city officials, the state officials, and right up to the federal government. Everyone is reluctant to have bad optics, and so right now, all these assholes are having their way, and now in some cities they're making their way into residential areas, into suburbs and shit like that. They're destroying stuff that some of the stuff they're starting to destroy, well, a lot of it can't be replaced. Like they destroyed and looted the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, which, I'm sorry, but I got a feeling that let's say, because there's some fantasy that the president might be losing some southern states like Georgia, like Texas, like whatever. You know what? All you have to do when you campaign in those states is say, these Democrats who are supported by these protesters, not even the protesters, they're supported by these the rioters from a few months ago. That they destroyed the College Football Hall of Fame. Oh shit, they ain't gonna get a single vote in the South. Those people love their football. That shit ain't happening. Fox and Bear Show. It's not a revolution. It's revolting fucking up shit. Doesn't help. No, it doesn't help at all. No, it does not. Hey, Gamer Valine, how you doing, my friend? Gabriel Valine, you do your stuff on Twitch, right? I gotta go on Twitch and check out your stuff because I know people say it's pretty fun to watch. Anyway, so anyways, all these morons are supporting Antifa as though like I said, yeah, they're anti-fascist, kind of like the Democratic Republic. What is it? Democratic something Republic of Korea is democratic. That's how I'll take that little grain of salt. Anyway, moving on. The Los Angeles mayor Garcetti said no to the National Guard. This is not 1992 or 1968, and then later ends up calling for the National Guard. On Saturday, Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti stressed during a press conference pertaining to the ongoing riots that the city would not call in the National Guard. A short while later, Garcetti tweeted that California National Guard was coming to LA because it was getting fucked up there. And well, let's just put it this way. The riots, okay. The protests that turned into riots moved into Beverly Hills and to Santa Monica and fucked a lot of shit up. So anyway, Garcetti replied, "No, I spoke with the governor earlier today. This is not a city. This is not what? This is not 1992. We're not going to evoke what happened then and called in the National Guard, but that's also on all of us. Let's just all de-escalate. We've trained police officers to learn more and more about de-escalation. We've trained police. And we still have more to do, but all of us as human beings can de-escalate. You can escalate without a weapon. You can provoke without a baton. So let's all de-escalate. And no, I do not anticipate in any way needing to call the National Guard. We got this, Los Angeles. Let's show our better angels." Well, he was referring to the 1992 LA riots, which followed the acquittal of 4 Los Angeles police officers who brutally beat. Again, remember I said every time they have to, if it's the police versus a man and the man is of race that happens to be a little bit more like my skin than most of yours, they always have to mention the race. Yes, the brutally beaten African-American man, Rodney King. They could have just said Rodney King, but this is even the Daily Caller does it. It drives me nuts. Later, Garcetti changed course, issuing the following tweet: "The California National Guard is being deployed to Los Angeles overnight to support our local response to maintain peace and safety in the streets of our city." Because shit got crazy on, let's see. And then Sunday said the following during a press conference. "In the early evening last night, I spoke with Governor Gavin Newsom to provide him with an update of what is happening here in Los Angeles. I described the situation. I explained how to become clear that a small group had turned a nonviolent gathering into acts of violence. And a small group. It wasn't a small group. It was a pretty big fucking group in 2 different places. And he offered to declare a state of emergency and send in supplemental National Guardsmen and women every day." Said, how? He had to say National Guardsmen and women, everyday citizens who put on a uniform. That could come here to help us. And I said, yes, help us, motherfucker, help us. Hi, James Colley, how you doing? We declared state of emergency for fires and earthquakes. We're in one now for COVID-19. My heart breaks that we had to declare one because some people, some of them from outside of our communities, started the fires and threw rocks and other dangerous items. People who drove from across town in caravans and cars to jump out to loot, get back in the car and do it again. That's the worst of us. And that's clearly an emergency. After this declaration, my office coordinated with the State Office of Emergency Service and our deployment of 500 National Guardsmen and women. You know, you could say National Guardsmen without having to add the women. I mean, it's just, that's a generic term. Does it? Oh, my God. And another 500 that have headed here. I know, to back up the sheriff department. All of these steps are not to instill fear. They are not to exact punishment on anyone. There's got to be a point, and I don't want to encourage it, but there's got to be a point where I loathe to say this. there's got to be a point where you say, you know what, fuck it. Crack some heads. But I don't want to think that way, but it's getting to the point. You know, it's kind of like when CNN, you know, up until a certain point in time, they only called it protests, even when they were describing like what was happening in Minneapolis, fires burning and everything. They would only call it protests. And then until glass started breaking at CNN headquarters, and then they finally described it as, what did they describe them as? I know they started using more violent terms like riot and whatever. Anyway, Los Angeles had a curfew and a lot. All right, let's move on. Now, what's funny about this whole movement is some of the people who are involved with the official side, meaning the cities and states and whatever, and the people who are they're having trouble with, right? Well, in some cases, they have interesting relationships. For example, I have another super chat. Thank you, Gamer Valine, with the $5 super chat through the Streamlabs link in the description down below. Funny how we had minimal looting in a constitutional carry state with known militia. They stopped in front of a jewelry store when they saw 6 or 7 armed people inside. Next day, no ARs, and the last shotguns were being bought. Gamer Valine, are you in Texas? I'm not sure, but anyway, and I look in St. Paul, Minnesota too. There were people outside their businesses with guns. I think you probably saw the two, like, how would I describe these gentlemen? Large, white, MAGA-looking fellows, even though they weren't MAGA fellows, but they were out there in front of a business, and there were some brothers out there, and they were all together out there, weapons on their chest, saying, "Hey, not here, not here, motherfucker." And then there was another business that had all these black dudes with guns, and they were saying, "Oh no, you ain't coming here." And I think those businesses are just fine. Arizona. Oh, yeah, Arizona. There you go. Arizona and Texas are like that. Yeah, good. And I'm not sure how it's going in Phoenix, but anyway. Back to these relationships. So apparently the daughters of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Congressman Ilhan Omar were tweeting support and helpful advice to the rioters. Oh, great. The acorn, as the saying goes, does not fall far from the tree. Daughters of 2 riot-torn Minnesota's highest profile office holders have been on Twitter offering encouragement and support to the forces rampaging there. Yakov Applebaum did screen grabs of tweets from Hope Walz, daughter of Democratic Governor Tim Walz, whose fecklessness allowed rioters to dominate law enforcement forces for days before finally calling up what appears to be inadequate National Guard support. Hope Walz has subsequently protected her Twitter feed, so you and I cannot see it. But here are the tweets grabbed by Yakov, showing her telling rioters on May 28th not to worry about the National Guard showing up because it takes time for them to come from all over the state, so the National Guard will not be present tonight. Here's Hope Walz's tweet. Could someone who actually has followers rely on the masses, or to relay to the masses that have gotten, quote, National Guard trending, that the Guard will not be present tonight? There is a lot of misinformation that is further spreading fear and chaos at the scene of protests. Well, guess what? I bet you if the National Guard was there and they had some fear and fear, they would not be doing the bullshit, because eventually live bullets are going to go flying and it's going to be terrible optics, and I don't want that. I don't want people to die for this shit. How about we, somebody needs to lead and say, hey, how about we calm this shit down? Anyway, she continues, the guard cannot be set within minutes. It takes time for them to deploy because they come from all over the state. To be clear, the National Guard will not be present tonight. Great, because she was responding to this urgent. If you're at the protest, get out now. National Guard and SWAT en route. They're almost here and will be using city buses to arrest everyone, as many people as possible. Get everyone out, screenshot, retweet, and share this. So anyway, just because, then she continued, just because someone hasn't asked for something doesn't mean it's happening right away or even happening at all. I don't know about SWAT, but what I do know is the Guard will not be present arresting people tonight. Yeah, the governor's daughter tweeting that out. Now I'm hoping that she's grounded for a little while, because they didn't need to put her picture up there. Anyway, Ilhan Omar's daughter, Irsa Hirsi, is not so shy and has a Twitter feed still open for all to see as this is being written. At the top of her page, she proudly proclaims in all lowercase letters, yes, I am 17 and I hate capitalism. Hey, like mother, like daughter. Perhaps she's a fan of EE Comics, or maybe she thinks capital letters are what is referenced by the word capitalism. No, she is her mother's daughter. She tweeted a post from the Twin Cities DSA, which is the Democratic Socialists of America, listing much needed supplies to help out your comrades.
Wow.
Your comrades protesting at the 3rd Precinct, who then looted and pillaged and burned the police building, as well as the Wells Fargo right across the street, and the Target across the street, and everything else in the fucking area. Anyway, she tweeted something about wanting to help your comrades protesting at the 3rd Precinct, blah. Here's a list of things you need. Hey, by the way, when I went down to Minneapolis Saturday afternoon, we went down, like I said, went down to check out my son's house, then we drove down Lake Street and went to, we actually stood around a rally, and I'll make a video about it. I just took some video, and Lady Boomer took a bunch of pictures, so I'm going to put those in a video form. Now, one thing that I don't know if it was cool or, I don't know, but one thing that was interesting, there were tons of people down there. Not only going down for the protest or the rally or whatever you want to call it, there were hundreds and hundreds of people walking around with brooms, with tools, with water, snacks, helping to clean up too. People helping put boards over the places. People helping, helping the people who are affected by this. Another thing that was interesting, as we're driving down Lake Street, we see all these buildings boarded up. We see all the graffiti that people had tagged buildings with. We see the burnt out buildings. But what was really interesting, like there's tons of, Black Lives Matter, ACAB, which stands for All Cops Are Bastards. There's another one that I don't know what it means. If any of you know what it means, let me know. TOPE. I have no idea what it means. But on some of the buildings, because it's a street with a lot of businesses. Some are just businesses, but some are businesses with apartments over the top. Like you'll have a business down here, and then there's an apartment complex on the top of the building. Interesting thing. Not a single building that had apartments over the top was burned. The businesses below were looted, but not a single building with apartments at the top were burned. But if it didn't, the buildings that didn't have apartments at the top, they're all burned up. And one of the things that on all those buildings, like literally the taggers, which means there is a speck of humanity in some of these people. Somebody involved with this, or maybe just the people who live there did it. But on those buildings, some were boarded up, and it said, like, they tag on the building, apartments above, do not burn. I just found that fascinating. And some, like, kids live up here, do not burn, do not burn. You know, the apartment people live up here, do not burn. Yeah, I and in some ways that's humorous. In the fact that, okay, don't burn this building, but you can burn that one. You know what I mean? But this one broke Lady Boomer's heart, because when we were younger, we used to go out a lot in Minneapolis, and there was a White Castle on the corner of one street that both she and I, before we even knew each other, we didn't know we both went to it. But we're like, yeah, I used to go to that White Castle after bars closed all the time. Oh, so did I. Yeah, it was destroyed, but whatever. Anyway. All right. So anyway, speaking of relative, okay. So and then later, what's her name? Hirsi. She responded to a tweet by Andy No, everyone's on the left's favorite person to hate. She responded to a tweet by Andy No, citing that tweet and characterizes urging such supplies as being an empathetic person. Here, so anyway, Andy No says Ilhan Omar's daughter retweeted a list of needed supplies for comrades who are rioting in Minneapolis, and the DC Twin Cities DCSA asked for plywood, sticks, rackets, and more. And she says, yes, I'm an empathetic person. Sue me. Yeah, comrades. Anyone who uses that term has, I don't know. Anyway. All right, moving on. More people. Oh, the son of Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Also, I hereby declare officially my support for Antifa. Oh, like father, like son, or the other way around, but you know what I mean. Jeremiah Ellison, he's a city council member? I didn't know that. Anyway, Jeremiah Ellison, a Minnesota city council member, and son of Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, tweeted Sunday, I hereby declare officially my support for Antifa. Unless someone can prove to me Antifa is behind the burning of black and immigrant-owned businesses in my ward, I'll keep focusing on stopping the white power terrorists. They are actually attacking us. Motherfucker. I was down there. And I told you there's people cleaning up. So we go by this Wells Fargo bank, right? This bank's all burned out, and someone destroyed the ATM outside, like the drive-up ATM's all smashed up. Like I said, I'll show you pictures of that later. And then there's all these people around though cleaning up the area, like sweeping all the fire department were putting it out, and all the mulch from the plants around the building was washed all into the parking lot stuff. There's people out there sweeping up the mulch, getting shit out of there. And we meet this guy who used to be a photojournalist, or he's still a photojournalist, but he's an independent one now. And he was saying, okay, so he's like, because he's been down there taking photos of the protest, and I'll put his Instagram somewhere, maybe in the description later down below or whatever, because he's taken a lot of really cool photos of just the whole area. He's been there during the whole protest, and we got to chatting with him, and he said, yeah, I was standing here, and this kid comes up to me and says, hey, you want anything out of the bank? And the guy, he goes, yeah, I looked at him and like, what, huh? He said, you want anything out of the bank? I'm going to go check and see if there's anything else in there. Because apparently the kid had been there when they were looting the bank and got a bunch of coins out of there. And he said, yeah, I'm going back in. You want anything? And so as we're talking to this guy, and he said, "Yeah, there's people in there right now, still going through their shit, but like half the bank was still intact, and half it with the whole insides were burnt and turned like caved in and shit, and it's still smoking and shit." But anyway, but as we're down there, and we're, like I said, we're at the protest while it's peaceful. But there's still, you can see the people around, and a lot of the people, they're just there to the protest. But you see the guys standing around, like watching people clean up, dressed in black masks, black hair hats, all that shit that you see the Antifa guys wearing. Literally, it's basically the uniform. And you just see them staring at these people cleaning up. And it's like, you just see this, like, almost a plotting look on their face, like, how are we going to fuck this up tonight, you know? It was weird. It was crazy. Anyway, so then this Jeremiah Ellison retweeted somebody that said, "There are actual terrorists, Proud Boys, Boogaloo, and other white supremacists on the ground in Minneapolis causing havoc to our beautiful, resilient community. We will continue to protect ourselves and rebuild." Bullshit. No, there's not. This is all on your little suburban LARPers who come down to the city in black. They're not. These are not Proud Boys. These are not white supremacists. Keith Ellison, Jeremiah's father, once posted a photo of himself with the Antifa handbook. He later deleted the tweet, but you can never delete a tweet because someone will always capture that one just to be safe. Photo of now deleted tweet of 2018 by Keith Ellison, Minnesota's attorney general, who at the time was a DNC deputy chairman. Ellison tweeted that the Antifa handbook should strike the fear in the heart of Trump. Yeah, not. He supports domestic terrorism that ravaged Minneapolis. Well, Keith Ellison's interesting. Sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that. Kicked the back of my desk. He's been fairly silent, but now the governor has asked him to be in charge of the whole monitoring of the trial of the officer that killed George Floyd. So anyway, moving on. Mayor de Blasio's daughter also getting into it. Mayor Bill de Blasio's daughter, Chiara, arrested in Manhattan protest. Wow. Shocker. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio's daughter was arrested in a Manhattan protest on Saturday night. Law enforcement sources told the Post on Sunday. Chiara de Blasio, 25, was taken into custody at around 10:30 after cops declared an unlawful assembly at 12th Street and Broadway in Lower Manhattan, the sources said. She had allegedly been blocking traffic on Broadway and was arrested after refusing to move, the sources said. That was a real hot spot. Police cars were getting burned there. People were throwing and yelling, fighting with cops. There were thousands of people in the area at the time, the source said. Chiara gave a residence on East End Avenue as her address, otherwise known as Gracie Mansion, the mayor's Upper East Side home. But she didn't tell the cops that she was the mayor's daughter. Well, good. At least she had some integrity. You know, she's there on her own will and doesn't have to try to get out of it because she's the mayor's daughter. And she didn't. So I'll give her one half a thumbs up for that. We appreciate and respect all peaceful protests, but now is the time for people to go home, de Blasio said in a press conference at 11:30 p.m. at the New York City Emergency Management Headquarters in downtown Brooklyn. Little knowing that your daughter was there. If you went out peacefully to make a point about the need for change, you have been heard, and change is coming in the city. I have no doubt about that. It's time to go home so we can all move forward. On Sunday, the mayor declared that anarchist agitators with an explicit agenda of violence have co-opted the police brutality protests for destruction. Well, that's a little more accurate, if you ask me. Anarchist agitators. That's a good name for them. Even you can call them Antifa too, but I won't call them Antifa because they're not. They're anarchists. They're the same fucking assholes that were at the WTO in Seattle several years ago. They're the same assholes that show up everywhere. They're anarchists. They're not. They're not anti-fascist. They are fascist. They are brown shirts of a different cause. That's what I call them. Hello, your boy Pat. What's up, my brother? How you doing? Also, good morning, Mike Savage. And somebody else came in that I didn't say hi to. Kessler, that's who it was. Hi, Kessler. What's up? All right. Enough of this one. Let's see. Let's get into another one. Leftist working overtime. Oh, so this is, again, this is when they were all these people talking about, oh, it's right-wingers doing this. It's right-wing. It's not right-wingers, you dumb shits. It's not right-wingers coming in trying to, that's like what a straight up Alex Jones conspiracy theory. That it's the right-wingers coming in and trying to pretend they're us and they're trying to make us look bad. No, it's you fucking anarchists who won't shut the fuck up and just love to wreak havoc on shit. So anyway, leftists working overtime to frame a narrative on George Floyd riots. In 1989, District of Columbia Mayor Marion Barry Jr. insisted that his city was basically crime-free, except for all the murder. Quote, except for the killings, Washington has one of the lowest crime rates in the country, he told a luncheon audience at the National Press Club. On May 28th, MSNBC reporter Ali Velshi said something as mind-bogglingly absurd as violent riots erupted in sections of Minneapolis over the death of George Floyd. Velshi insisted that the protests were basically peaceful. I want to be clear how I characterize this, Velshi said, as buildings literally burned to the ground in the background of his broadcast. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly, which was one of those funniest videos I've seen in a while. And I think I know what Velshi was trying to say. Look, like I said, when I was at the protest on Saturday, when we were down there we were taking pictures and taking videos. You're right, Ali Velshi. It was generally peaceful. The protest was peaceful. It was all the other shit going on that wasn't. And that's why you look ridiculous right now. Anyway, it's interesting to watch Velshi struggle to find words to shape the narrative. Oh, by the way, he got beat up during the protest by protesters. Just FYI. That was later. Anyway, it's interesting to watch Velshi struggle to find the words to shape the narrative he's so desperately trying to tell, that the violence and upheaval unfolding around him isn't really happening. It's one of those, this is fine, like from Police Academy. I think it was Police Academy. Anyway, that the burning buildings are somehow not indicative. In fact, it's like that meme, the guy in the hat sitting at the table and the house is burning around him. This is fine. Straight to the mail. What's up? Chicago Mike. What's up? That the whole scene is just a peaceful protest. So please don't misinterpret the fires and the destruction and evacuation of Minneapolis's 3rd precinct, the vandalism of police vehicles, and the looting of the Target and arson of the AutoZone as unruly. According to the St. Paul Police Department, more than 170 businesses were damaged or looted that night, and there were dozens of fires. Liberals are so obsessed with controlling the narrative on race, so immersed in their own self-serving propaganda, that they actually believe that society is going to accept their bald-faced lies over reality itself. Over the television footage of the destruction, over the police reports documenting property damage, over the cries from governors and mayors urging citizens to please stop the looting and rioting. Vox recently published an article by Morgan State University professor Jason Johnson titled, quote, "What We're Missing When We Condemn Violence at Protests," which attempted to discount the reality and explain away what our own eyeballs are seeing when we view the footage of the George Floyd protest. Now, okay, wait, let me stop there. The title of this stream, hang on, because I can't remember. I want to get it exactly. For a minute, it was about George Floyd, right? When I hear the words, name George Floyd, do you think I would rather be talking about George Floyd? And yet, what has this turned into? The George Floyd protests. That's not about George Floyd, because the George Floyd protests is a completely different thing. We're not talking about George Floyd anymore. We're talking about, like I said, remember I said the other day, because they were complaining, oh, I see you get so angry about the protest, not the protest. We get angry about the looting, burning, stealing, fires, destruction, not the protest. You're so mad about that, but you're not mad about the police killing George Floyd. Au contraire, mon frère. Everybody was mad about the killing of George Floyd. And as I said on Saturday, yes, George Floyd, that was fucked up, and everyone knew it. Everyone was saying it. But now this building is on fire, and when the building's on fire in front of you, you tend to forget about what happened over there, because the building that's on fire is coming towards your house. The fire is spreading towards your house. And so you focus on what you see. And right now, we're not seeing George Floyd. We're seeing the fires and the destruction and all these assholes. Looting, stealing, destruction. I want to talk about George Floyd. Okay? I want to talk about the state. The state using power. Okay? Because it's as much as everyone wants to make this about race, George Floyd wasn't killed because he's a black man. In fact, I don't know that. I'm not going to put that as the cause of a lot of these incidents, because if he was killed, if they're out there just killing black men, but there's a lot more black men to choose from that they could be killing every day, and they're not. Okay, even though there's a perception, because we know all their names, but the state is not just killing black people. They're killing white people. They're killing some Hispanic people, and guess what? Not at a high rate, but enough to go, hey, no, can we fix this, please? Because sometimes these guys, they get a little. I don't know if they get excited by the power. I don't know. I don't know why. But if the state can kill you without a legitimate reason, I understand completely. If there's a shootout and you kill the suspect, good. That suspect's firing at you, you should be able to kill the suspect. If that suspect is coming at you with the machete, ready to swing it, you should be able to kill the suspect. I don't believe in equal and opposite force. Okay? There's no reason that an officer should put their life in danger, regardless of what kind of equal and opposite force. But in this case, that ain't it. Okay? And there are cases where that's not it. Walter Scott, that was not it. Okay? The state killed, who's the other I can't breathe guy? God, I'm blanking out. Eric Garner. Okay, now that case, Eric Garner's dead because the state was overzealous with power about cigarettes, selling illegal cigarettes. Now the officer in that case, absolutely an accident. Okay, now there's people saying he was choked to death. He wasn't choked to death, but I get it. The state, Eric Garner's because the state lost his mind. I forgot the name of the guy. There's a guy I want to try to learn his name. Not even a week ago. There's the white guy somewhere that same thing as George Floyd. George Lucas, I almost said. Jesus Christ, this ain't Star Wars. George Floyd, another guy, just a week ago in another city, died the same way. Officers laying on him. This guy, at least with George Floyd, oh my God, at least with George Floyd, the officers weren't joking and laughing about it. This white dude, I just watched a video just the other day. This white dude, the officers were kind of joking and laughing while this guy is dying. Guys died right underneath him. But nobody knows his name. I don't know his name. Again, I don't know his name. No, I did not check your logic, but hi. I that's not on my agenda today. We might get to it eventually. But we don't know his name. We don't know any of can anyone other than that woman from Australia, and I don't even know her name. And that was a big case here in Minnesota, and I don't even know her name. Other than in fact, the fact that I even know a single case of a white person killed by police recently shocks me but we know every single black person's name, which is fine. I don't mind that we know their names. I wish we knew the other names that we could get it under control. Okay. Even if it's a small problem, it's a small problem we don't need to have in the United States. Okay. The police are obligated to take people who, are subdued into custody, not kill them in the street, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Your job is to take suspect into custody so they can justice can be served one way or another, whether they're innocent or guilty. Justine Damon, yes, I think that's her name, the woman in Minneapolis that was killed by the cops. Now those cops did go to jail. The cops who killed Walter Scott was in jail. Who was that white guy? I don't know. I can't remember the name, but it was just recently. About a week before, and it was in another city. It was a week before George Floyd died. Anyway, let's get back in this article. So Vox, I'm going to start here again. Vox recently published an article by Morgan State University professor Jason Johnson titled "What We're Missing When We Condemn Violence and Protests," which attempted to discount reality and explain away what our own eyeballs are seeing when we view the footage of the George Floyd protests unfolding across the country. Johnson insisted that these seemingly violent events are simply the result of a sensational news media establishment. Hey, I was in Minneapolis on Saturday. I saw the destruction for my own eyes. Literally a mile of buildings, commercial buildings, are boarded up, just windows broken, burnt out. Convenience stores burned down, Walgreens burned down, a bank burned down, a auto dealership burned down, all the car windows in an auto dealership smashed, a restaurant burned out, 3 or 4 restaurants burned out. Don't tell me the seemingly violent events are simply the result of a sensational news media establishment. Bullshit. We're seeing it. I guess everything I'm seeing on the internet's the news establishment too then, right? Because lots of people putting video about this shit out. In reality, these protests are usually not completely consumed with chaos, he wrote. Nighttime coverage will seldomly show a full city map, demonstrating that 2 blocks over from a street that looks like a city engulfed in flames, there's a CVS still open for business. Not in this particular area. They knocked out 5 grocery stores, 3 police precincts, several small businesses. Yes, maybe a mile away, there's businesses open still. In fact, when we drove down there, my son, who lives 4 blocks off of Lake Street, the area called Uptown, yeah, buildings were boarded up, but they hadn't necessarily been, I don't know how much they've been damaged and looted. But then you go down farther south, and yes, they haven't been, but they were preparing for it because all those places were boarding themselves up because they heard that the protesters were going to try to move into residential areas now. And the quote was something like, yeah, we're time for us to move into the residential areas and take what is ours. Now, I don't know if that was a fake Antifa notice or if it was real, but I don't necessarily want to find out. And who's responsible for these fires? The police, of course. Much of the property damage attributed to the protesters is often the result of police action or inaction. Now I like how he threw this in here. The result of police action or inaction in the face of lawful public behavior, Johnson stated, explaining that police munitions often start fires at protests. Yeah, the police munitions burnt down the Wells Fargo Bank and the White Castle and the Walgreens and the McDonald's and the Super America convenience store and whatever that building, that was tall building that was, I don't even know what the hell it was, but it was all burnt out. Yes, that's police munitions did that. Nobody sets fires. Nobody tagged all these places with graffiti and had anarchy symbols and BLM and ACAB and taupe, whatever the fuck. Did anyone know what taupe means? I'm trying to figure that one out. I'm not sure. All right, let's see here. The authentic protester, on the other hand, has a legitimate reason to destroy property. Well, I got an idea. Legitimate protester, why didn't you go home and burn your own house down? That's destroying property. Oh, wait, not that property. For protesters who are angry about violent, unaccountable police in Minneapolis, overtaking and burning down the 3rd police precinct is a specific act of revolt, Johnson stated. This is fundamentally different action that using the chaos from 2 blocks over to raid a liquor store. Oh, by the way, they did raid 3 liquor stores. One of them was burned out. They raided a Famous Dave's, which is the Famous Dave's that I like to go to because they used to have bands at that Famous Dave's. But anyway, Alec Detmering, hello, how are you? Welcome. Straight Smith Mail, I think I said hi to you already. There was another name I saw in here I'd never seen before. And anyway, glad you're here. Johnson also pointed out how the media failed to separate peaceful protesters from rioters who really can't help binging on stolen goods. They just can't help themselves because the police are so occupied harassing and corralling peaceful protesters, and the streets are filled with smoke. It's pretty easy to break into a Verizon store, a beauty shop, or a grocery store and take what you want. The authentic protester, on the other hand, Johnson concluded his Vox article by forwarding the latest dose of racial grievance propaganda, which is the notion that police have been responding to black protesters with unwarranted use of force while dealing ever so kindly with armed white protesters speaking out against the lockdowns. Bullshit. Look, it's usually appropriate amount of force. Well, let's talk about that appropriate amount of force. They keep talking about the armed protesters in Michigan who stormed the Capitol building after they all had their temperatures checked before they entered the building. Oh my God. Hello, Amy in Connecticut. This narrative is a lie, and the captions under the CNN pictures revealed the truth for anyone who wanted to look past the misleading headline to the fine print. Cops were throwing tear gas, not at innocent black teens peacefully protesting the death of George Floyd on a quiet Minneapolis street, but because rioters had first vandalized, then burned down the 3rd police precinct. Likewise, the police stood down at the Michigan's Capitol, not because the protesters were white or conservative, but because they weren't breaking any laws. In fact, the contrast between the George Floyd protests erupting in big cities across America and those protests against the lockdown happening at state capitals couldn't be more stark. The George Floyd protests have been marred by outrageous acts of violence and destruction, so much so that governors have declared a state of emergency and have called in the National Guard. All manner of businesses have been looted, vandalized, and set ablaze. As reported in the Atlantic Journal-Constitution, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms had a blunt message to protesters who turned the streets of downtown Atlanta into scenes of violence and destruction late Friday. Go the fuck home! No, she didn't say that. She said go home. But I thought it was appropriate to say go the fuck home. In New York, according to Fox 5, more than 200 people were arrested, including one person who faces attempted murder charges for throwing a lighted Molotov cocktail into a marked police vehicle that 4 officers were inside. Many NYPD officers were injured in different incidents during the protest. Thank you, C. Thomas, for the $2 super chat. If you are inclined to do that kind of stuff, the links in the description and in the chat. C. Thomas says, I'm fucking tired of the keyboard activists making excuses and defending all these criminal weekend revolutionaries. This bullshit does not get protesters. I'm sick the militia protesters being called white nationalists when they aren't the rioters. Yeah, they're trying so hard to find a way to tie this to the right, to white nationalists, to different things that might lead to Trump. Oh, anyway, so. And the lockdown protests at the state capitals, besides a few rogue militants legally carrying weapons who broke no laws and started no trouble, the biggest transgression these people committed was not wearing masks and properly socially distancing, which prompted Democratic Congressman candidate Ryan Farrar to respond by wishing the protesters would die of COVID-19. There was no documented violence at these protests or property damage or attempted murder. No looting of department stores, vandalizing of police stations, or throwing bottles in trash cans at police, which unfortunately cannot be said of the George Floyd protests breaking out across America. Perhaps this is why the police didn't don riot gear and launch tear gas. Duh. Not that liberal journalists care about truth or accuracy of information. Leftist media outlets like CNN and MSNBC care only about forwarding a political narrative of racial grievance and unrest, and will do so even if it involves Soviet-style propaganda and the telling of bald-faced lies. NBC host Joy Reid,
your life makes me sad,
is a bald-faced liar, and she recently proceeded to tell a bald-faced lie on MSNBC's All In with Chris Hayes. Quote, and it's the same thing with these armed white men who can get armed up and walk into a state capitol, and that's okay. And the police are benign. They don't even act afraid, but let black people show up in the protest the death of an innocent black man, and suddenly, you know what? We need tear gas. We've got it to go in full force. No, they didn't at first. The protests, they didn't do anything. They were standing around watching. But when the shit hit the fan, that's when the shit hit the fan. Yep, that's it exactly, Joy. The tear gas wasn't for the rioters vandalizing police stations and burning down buildings, but for the black teens peacefully protesting. Wrong sound effect, but it worked too. And Washington, D.C. is the safest city in America. Whatever. All right. Enough of that. Hey! I never did the shill, but anyway, if the Morning Night Live is brought to you by you, the fans and viewers of the Morning Night Live, please make sure you hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Now, this whole thing's messed up. I always have to refresh to find out how many people are here. But anyway, hit the like button if you like what we're doing. Share this stream out. That's the biggest thing I need, because I'm trying to get this to what's that number? 1,000 before July, because we're going to do a road stream if I can. Lady Boober and I just decided what that road stream is going to be. We're going to go to the North Shore of Lake Superior and do some waterfall viewing. There's 9 waterfalls between Duluth and Thunder Bay, Canada. If the Canadian border is open, we're going to start in Thunder Bay with a beautiful, gigantic Niagara Falls-like waterfall, and then we're going to travel our way down the North Shore. So if you help me get to 1,000 subscribers so we can live stream while on the road, and I can do my show on the road too. So anyway, and if you're inclined, the donations and super chats can be done through the Streamlabs link right there at pdognight.live, or you can see in the chat it says this show is sponsored by viewers like you. Support the show with your donations to have your super chats read live on the show. You can click the link in that Streamlabs chat. And then finally, follow me on mine's Twitter, Gab. Although I'm active on Twitter, I'm not active on the other two. But like I said, if you're not on Twitter, you use one of those other things, then you can repost those, and hopefully we'll grow the show. Thank you to Cynical Lindsay with the super chat, $2. Whoa, did you see the footage of the child that got pepper sprayed? And people wonder why I vehemently object to getting children involved in politics. Yeah, I did see that. That was so unfortunate. And then the people are like, "Oh, you pepper sprayed a child. You used tear gas on a child." Well, what the fuck was your child doing there? I'm sorry. Your job as a parent is to protect your child. And I probably wouldn't bring if you've been seeing what's happened in the last few days at these demonstrations, protests, and whatever, may not want to take a child there. Anyway, Will it Forge? I could have sworn I saw you there. Yes, I did. In Michigan, a local sheriff and most of his on-duty force joined in a peaceful protest. Yeah, I saw that. Wasn't that in Flint, Will? I think it was in Flint, Michigan. In fact, maybe I'll just do tomorrow maybe I'll do a whole show on the things about this whole situation that give me hope. That might be my show tomorrow. Except I am going to also make sure to do the communist flyer that I got while we were in downtown Minneapolis. There's lots of outsiders with very different multiple agendas at these rallies, and that's the problem with this. That's you forget about what? What do we forget about when there's all these extra agendas? We forget about George Floyd. George Floyd. That was his name. George Floyd. Do not forget his name. George Floyd. Right? Hello, Irish Rose. How you doing? Okay, let's clean it up here because we got to get out of here shortly. Let's see. I'll skip that one. You know what? Let's do this. I actually need to get into the Twitter trends. Although, this is funny though. I don't know if it's. I don't know. I don't want to call it funny. Nothing about this is actually funny. But apparently, these looters decided they turned on each other and had a brawl over the looted clothing. ABC News shared a video of looters in Walnut Creek, California, turning on each other. In the video, looters appear to brawl over the clothing that they looted. Luda. Let's see. We'll just play this clip real quick. It's only 46 seconds. Yes, they were fighting over the clothes that they stole from the Nike store or wherever they got it. And they're mad. Oh man, come on, man, that's mine. Oh, then they ran. Okay. This is from a helicopter video. Damn, damn. Oh, watch. They run. They should, as soon as that door shuts, I wonder if they run off without him. I don't like. All right. Anyway, it still pisses me off. This shit pisses me off. All right. Let's get into Twitter trends, which I'm sure I had all kinds of things bookmarked for today. But again, I am going to do a specific. Tomorrow I want to do a specific show about things that give me hope regarding this. There's all kinds of things like the police officers in Flint who marched with the people, and the people were very, very receptive to that. Also, before I get into Twitter trends, I got a few thank yous real quick. Let's see. Thank you, Necrosalt Collins, Alhut Alizim, Maddie the News Chick, Cynical Lindsay, Cindy Rochelle, all for sharing the show out. That's really important to me right now. Also, thank you, Gamer Valine, for the $5 super chat coming into right now. Got a little doing a little Carlson right there. Jake Paul was filmed looting our rich area. We have a week-long curfew. Yeah. Motherfuckers. Yeah, someone caught Jake Paul and he's denying it, and I think he's getting in trouble for lying about denying or whatever. It's not good. What a fucking idiot. Anyway, also, let's see. I'm sorry. What's this? Let's see. You got an Instagram. Okay, this is. Oh, here we go. This is S Derbs. I always forget what your different name on in the chat is, but this is an Instagram post of some guys who were, let's see, the Corvos showing the non-peaceful protesters how protecting their property works when you have the Second Amendment backing you up. Hats off to the guys, the Corvos Bakery in Cleveland, so-called journalists. Wait a minute, Corvos Bakery. No, that's not the place. That's not the place that has the giant cream puffs, is it? There's a place. Is it in Cleveland? I know it's in Cleveland. Is that an Italian restaurant that has a bakery and they make these huge giant? We stopped there on the way home from Virginia once because I heard about the place, and they make these giant cream puffs. They're like a softball size, and they're so freaking good. Anyway, here's let's just watch this here real quick.
Oh, he's got a rifle.
Oh no, this is not it. But anyway.
Corvo's Bakery. He's got a gun. That's kind of crazy. Oh! They got guns in there.
You know, I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh my god, because Corvo's Bakery. You think these guys are Italian?
Do you have a message for people? Okay. I'm not judging. I'm asking. All right, I got 16,000 people watching. You got 16,000 people watching right now. What do you have to say to everybody? Anything?
Keep doing what you're doing. I get it, man. Y'all trying to protect y'all shit. I get it. Flat out. Y'all trying to protect y'all shit. Y'all trying to protect y'all shit. I get it.
You got insurance, right? Do you have insurance?
Doesn't matter if I have insurance. I want my business. Fuck the insurance. I don't want to be out of business for
But is it worth
10
maybe
weeks.
having someone get shot? Are you
Yes.
over an insured place? But why? Well, it is the point.
They just trying to defend their shit.
I understand, but what if someone accidentally got shot?
Accidentally? No, I shoot their ass on purpose.
I think it's.
Get in that building.
Well, you're out here with guns.
Dude, what am I taking?
I know. Why?
Put your camera down.
Put my camera down to what?
Because I'll put the back end of my gun.
You're gonna point a gun at me. What do you think?
Alex would never say that's wrong.
I'm scared. You have a gun. You
Good.
Have a rifle and I'm scared.
We want you to be
You're hiding
scared.
in
Well,
here
he's not
with
the camera
guns.
guy, but
You
whatever.
guys, it's embarrassing. You're embarrassing yourself. You're hiding in here, and I'm scared. Look at you behind the door.
You're
Look
protecting
at
your
you.
business is embarrassing.
Who's scared right now? Look at who's scared. Oh, he's hiding. He's running away. I got 19,000 people watching this, and you're scared. Hide in the store. Come over here.
Well, I don't understand that flex. You're scared right now. What are you talking about? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I don't condone killing anybody, but damn, don't start breaking my shit. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, is this the same thing? Okay. Oh, this is from Gamer Valine. Here, let me see here. I might skip trends today. I'm running out of time. Business owner defends store with rifles, handguns during Scottsdale. Here's another one. As protesters in Scottsdale moved down Fifth Avenue, local stores had windows broken and benches along the road were damaged. Vandalism continued down the road until protesters came to a local jewelry store. There, the protesters found a handful of people inside the store armed with rifles and handguns. People were inside the store with guns because they had heard what happened to the Apple store in Scottsdale Fashion Square and wanted to protect their private property, the owner said. We weren't here to hurt anybody. We weren't here to harm anybody, said the store owner's son, who did not wish to be identified by name. After seeing exactly what happened at the Apple store, this isn't protesting, this isn't rioting, this is crime. The protesters just stopped and proceeded to hold a bit of protest, kneeling and raising their arms in front of the store. You can see more of our coverage. Okay, so here's that. There's that. Let's see how long this is. It's not up. There's an ad. It's closing in 12 seconds, so you get to see the ad. Yippee. Skip ad. There we go. Here we go.
Mark and Cody, the last time I talked to you, I was in a pretty heavy situation that was happening at Fifth Avenue and Scottsdale Road, and I stuck around for a little bit after everybody dispersed there, and I got some more information. There's a jewelry store that was about a block in the shops at Fifth Avenue, and the friends of that jewelry store owner had heard about potential looting, potential demonstrations. They had heard what may have been happening to the Apple store.
Arizona don't play. They like their guns down there.
Their guns, and they came and stayed inside of the jewelry store and said, if anybody comes to loot this jewelry store,
you will be
we
shot.
are going to make sure that we protect it. And they said, this is our Second Amendment right. We're allowed to have these guns. This is our private business, and we are going to stay inside. So then, as the protesters then moved down Fifth Avenue from Scottsdale Road, they were breaking the benches. If anybody's been to the shop along Fifth Avenue, there are some wooden benches, and then there are some stores with some jewelry and some other, sort of touristy trinkets, and they were breaking windows. And they came to this jewelry store, and they saw 6 or 7 people with rifles and handguns, and they stopped. And it is, I believe you're seeing video of what happened outside of that store. That is when they began to hold a bit of a protest. They were kneeling, they had their hands up, they were chanting.
I don't know what they're protesting.
They stopped outside of this store, and I'm
And I'm going to pause for the biggest super chat of the day so far, $4.99 from Chicago Mike. Thank you, sir. Saying, how dare you wanting to protect your property? Yeah, no shit. By the way, if you do the largest super chat of the day, you get the little K-pop chick who... Oh, no, that wasn't the K-pop chick. That's a different K-pop chick. There's a different one for that. Anyway, thank you, Chicago Mike.
With the guys that had guns inside. And they said that their main objective was just to defend the store.
Right. All they're doing is defending their store. Good.
Did not
Good
want
for
to be
them.
identified by name. And here's what he had to say about exactly what they were doing with all those guns in the store on this night.
You have no right to their shit.
You all were defending the store tonight.
You know what? Yeah. That's all we were here to do. We weren't here to hurt anybody. We weren't here to harm anybody. After seeing exactly what happened to the Apple store, this isn't a protest. This isn't rioting.
Hello, John D.
This is crime, and I understand what happened in Minnesota is horrific.
So that is the son of the store owner, again, who did not want to be identified, and we're not identifying the store either, but they were there.
Well, I think anyone in Arizona probably know what store it was just by looking at it, but still. Good. Defend your shit. You know what?
Move on down the corridor. That's when they vandalized the original chop shop. They were unhappy about how things went in front of the jewelry store. They were unhappy about their interaction with police. They took a large recycling cylinder of some sort and threw it through the window of the original chop shop. And so there was actually an employee of the chop shop who was just present just
All right.
keeping an eye on his store. And
Anyway, I think you
after
got the
everybody
gist
moves
of
on,
that.
the
All
one
right,
sweeping
let's
up-
other thing here. Let's see. All right, we got this. All right, so Twitter trends. I will just do a real quick perusing through it. I'm sure it's all going to be about this. Cleanup underway in cities across the U.S. as unrest continues over George Floyd's death. At least they remembered his name this time. Cleanup efforts are underway in several cities on Monday following a weekend of protest over the death of George Floyd. The 46-year-old died. Oh my God! They didn't mention his race. Damn! Come on! What's his race? Anyway, the 46-year-old died after he was pinned to the ground by Minneapolis police. One of the officers, Derek Chauvin, is charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter on Friday. You know what? I still believe that the other officers need to be charged. Now, we'll go through these quick because I have one last video to show you I want you to see. That is about 6 minutes long, so I'm going to run through this fast. Pride 2020. Oh my goodness! It is June. It's Pride Month. A lot of people saying Happy Pride Month, which is cool. Fine. Be you, and hope people who are celebrating Pride Month have a good Pride Month. DC Blackout is trending. So who the fuck do I believe? DC Blackout. I don't know. This is fake. Do not believe this. Bots are spreading this as well. It's fake. Okay, so apparently this anonymous shit. A lot of people are saying it's fake. I don't know. I have no idea. Who knows about the bots have adjusted their misinformation campaign on DC Blackout to pretend that there is a bot campaign copying, pasting, everything is fine script to push the narrative that everything is not fine and create mass confusion, spread fear. I have no idea what to believe. But here, this is looking at... In 1985, Philadelphia bombed a black neighborhood because the Black Liberation Group MOVE was gaining too much traction. Do not believe they won't kill protesters. Well, they also just killed David, what's his name, at Koresh, his whole compound in Texas, or in wherever that, Waco. And they, the government, again, it's about government power. I don't think David Koresh was white or black either. So I don't know what this is. Anonymous, spread the word DC Blackout. Okay, here it is. Real-time network data from Washington, D.C. show no indication of a mass-scale internet disruption overnight or through the last 48 hours. Observable fixed line and cellular connect. Okay, I have no idea. That's about hacking. Bunker Boy, they're making fun of Trump for being taken to the bunker. Fuck that. Like I said, that is Secret Service protocol that if the President of the United States is in danger in the White House, that they go down through the tunnels and take him to a safe place. That is protocol for any President of the United States. So that's another, just more hashtag activists. Happy Pride Month. Virgil is trending. Virgil Abloh, when they asked him to donate. I don't even know. Okay, I'm not sure what this is about. I'm going to just skip because it's not... anything else interesting? Tom Cotton trending. Here, let's see if there's any that I really want to talk about. Where are the protesters? What? Oh, yeah. Wait, FBI agent. What happened here? FBI agent of South Sudan heritage being racially profiled. See what happened after his arrest or what they did after they found out who he is. You guys are the stupidest motherfuckers I've ever met in my life, says the black guy repeatedly to two stupid cops because they're arresting him and he's an FBI agent. Now, this is funny. Well, did he have his FBI ID with him? I don't know. No one knows why he's there, and it's probably after curfew, but you know what? It's still dumb. Washington Monument. Multiple fires set near the White House as protests escalate after the curfew. Washington Monument is trending, I think, because of that crazy woman who said, PSA for anyone who might be interested in how to pull down an obelisk safely, from an Egyptologist who never ever in a million years thought this advice might come in handy. She was advocating that they destroy the Washington Monument. Has the white lady Egyptologist pulled down the Washington Monument yet? Oh God, everyone's making fun of her. This credentialed class nihilist is inciting the destruction of the Washington Monument. But of course, it's all entirely hypothetical. Oh, please don't pull it down. Don't, please. Oh my God. Oh, yeah, she's getting dragged. If you heard about that, if you're on Twitter, check that out, or I might talk about it tomorrow. All right, let's finish up with the last thing that I wanted to go to, and it's longer than I want it to be, but I'm going to show it anyway. Got to go through my history real quick because I forgot to bookmark it, and give me just a moment, please. All right, this is a police officer's take on the George Floyd situation. I'm gonna show you the beginning of it, and I'll just put the link of the rest of the video because I think it's something everyone should watch. Here we go. This is really good, by someone named Breaking Barriers United. This guy's a police officer in Southern California. So here we go.
To safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all men to liberty, equality, and justice. I will keep my private life unsullied as an example to all, maintain courageous calm in the face of danger.
Good point, Katie. Interesting. FBI undercover during riots?
Danger, scorn, or ridicule. Develop self-restraint and be constantly mindful of the welfare of others. Honest in thought and deed in both my personal and official life. I will be exemplary in obeying the laws of the land and the regulations of my department. Whatever I see or hear of a confidential nature or that is confided to me in my official capacity will be kept ever secret unless revelation is necessary in the performance of my duty. I will never act officiously or permit personal feelings, prejudices, animosities, or friendships to influence my decisions. With no compromise for crime and with a relentless prosecution of criminals, I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately, without fear or favor, malice or ill will, never employing unnecessary force or violence, and never accepting gratuities.
I'm going to pause this for this super chat from Black Hebrew Israelites.
That's right.
Okay, you little commie shitheads, you don't have the right to my shit. If you come by my house to try to take my shit, you'll get an unhealthy dose of lead injection.
That's right.
Do I need to set up a rooftop Hebrews here in my area?
That's right.
Thank you for the $5 super chat from Black Hebrew Israelites. I'm going to continue this video now.
I recognize the badge in my office as a symbol of public faith, and I accept it as a public trust to be held so long as I am true to the ethics of police service. I will constantly strive to achieve these objectives and ideals, dedicating myself before God and to my chosen profession, law enforcement. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Tillman. And today, on a little bit of a more somber note, I want to talk to you guys about
Tillman is a police officer
in Minneapolis involving George Floyd. What I just read to you guys was the law enforcement code of ethics. And what you don't realize is that most police officers across the country, when they graduate the police academy, we recite that code of ethics. It's ingrained in us, we memorize it, and we also make sure we take it to heart because we have to know what we accept to do as this job. And the reason I read that law enforcement code of ethics to you right now is because I want you guys to know what I signed up for. The reason why I do what I do. The reason why I became a police officer is to protect people. It's to help people. It's to save people in their most dire need. What I did not sign up to do is I did not sign up to act immorally or unethically or take somebody's life who didn't deserve to die. And what we witnessed yesterday in Minneapolis was a situation in which an officer didn't care about human life. As hard as this video was to watch, what was most depressing about the video was it felt like the officer didn't have a care in the world for the subject that was on the ground. I want you guys to realize that in my job, in our job as officers, we do have an obligation to go out and protect people. We have an obligation to solve crime. And many times in our profession, people will use resistance and force against us. But I will also tell you is that when they are no longer a threat, if they are not resisting, I do not have the power. I cannot go ahead and remove your rights from you as a human being and take your life because I don't care about you. I have a personal obligation to preserve life, preservation of life. It's an obligation. I've handled situations like these before. I was actually at a situation like this last week, actually, where we had a guy on his stomach who said he couldn't breathe. And we had to hobble his feet, put a rope around his feet because he kept kicking our police car. He had steel-toe boots on, and he was really a threat to a lot of people. So we put him on his stomach, we handcuffed him, and he told us he couldn't breathe. But the first thing we did is we rolled him on his side, made sure that he couldn't breathe. And so one thing that we have to do, or make sure that he could breathe, I'm sorry. But one thing that we have to do as officers
was that a
is we
Freudian
have
slip?
to
I
get rid
hope
of
not.
excuses, because I know that's coming. I've already got some, actually. The excuse of, well, what if he was resisting beforehand? Well, even if let's just say he was resisting, does it allow those officers to continue to utilize force against him when he stops resisting? The sad part about this video is that after several minutes of his body, of George Floyd's body going limp, the officer still didn't even look down at him to see if he was okay. And so the moment a person stops resisting, we need to make sure that we preserve their life if they are going through a medical emergency. Excuse number 2. Well, maybe he was using drugs and maybe he went to a cardiac arrest because of the drugs. Just because a person uses drugs does not allow me to say, oh, well, you don't get any medical help because you use those drugs. If a person is going through a cardiac arrest or emergency, whatever it is, a medical emergency, I have every obligation to save his life just as much as the next person. So we can throw that excuse out the window. The other excuse is this: hey, well, he was spitting on us and, you know, we wanted to wait there for EMS. There's ways that you can get that situation, make that situation better. Roll him on his side, sit him up, let him breathe, put him in the back of a police car, throw a spit sock on him. The reason I can tell you about these different ways or different methods that they could have chose is because I've been in situations as such many times. I've dealt with people that said, you know, that are going through a series of what we call excited delirium, which is they can't breathe, their body starts heating up internally. I've gone through those situations, and the moment somebody tells me that they can't breathe or they're hurting is my obligation to make sure I check on the welfare of that individual, because I don't want to be the officer that sits there and stands by as this person takes his last breath. The video was very, very hard to watch, and I am upset. And the reason I'm upset is not just because that officer allowed that person to die yesterday, Mr. George Floyd. It's because all the work that officers across the world are doing to repair the bond between law enforcement and the community is tainted and is tarnished because of acts like that. We have to be able to stand up and call a spade for what it is. You guys know me. I'm always telling you guys, hey, I do research. I'm gonna do as much research as I can. And I do that, and I say that because I know I can be put in a controversial position tomorrow or today when I go to work. But there's also a time and place where we know what's wrong is wrong. And the only way we're going to make this profession better, the only way we're going to garnish the trust amongst our community is being honest and being able to hold each other accountable. This was an emotional situation, and I feel bad for not only George Floyd's family, but the officers involved. I feel bad for their families. I feel bad for the departments. I feel bad for the communities. I feel bad for everybody as a society because we're becoming more and more divided. But there is hope, and here's the hope. George Floyd, everybody else that has lost their life unjustly, I promise you that I'm going to continue to do what I can do to be the best officer I can be, stand up for what's right, call out what's wrong, and I'm going to try to bring as much people with me as I can. I will continue to do the Tillman Stakes as educational purposes.
I'm going to pause here. Because I gotta close out the show, but to watch that video, I'm gonna put here's a link to it in the chat. I already put it in there once, but I'm gonna put it there one more time if you want to watch the rest of that video. There's only about 3 or 4 minutes of it left. Go watch that video, and I just followed Officer Tillman today. It's called Breaking Barriers United is his YouTube channel, and he just goes through I don't know if you're familiar with Donut Operator, or there's a couple other police officers who analyze different police actions and tell you what they're doing and explain a lot about what they're doing. But I just subscribed to this one today, so I don't know a lot about it, but Donut recommended it, and so I said, you know what, I'm gonna check it out. And this officer's message is probably perfect for the situation, and it reminded me of what I said the other day. You have a suspect that's in custody. Once you have him subdued, your obligation is to make sure that guy is alive to be able to go through the justice system and determine whether or not he is guilty or not guilty. And that's your obligation as a police officer. And so it's good to hear a police officer say that too. In fact, I would guess there's a whole, if you go on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, there are hundreds and hundreds of officers who've had a similar message like this, or TikTok even. There's tons of TikTok videos of police officers in their car on their brakes talking about this case who are saying has the same message. And I wish this is the type of message that I need officers to be saying and other officers need to hear. On that note, I do have to go, guys. Thank you so much for being here today. Big crowd today. We had over 60 people here at some point, which is awesome. I hope that that continues. If you like what we did, make sure you hit the like button right now. If you haven't done so, hit it now. And share the video out on Twitter, Minds Gab, or any place you want using the share arrow down below. One click, two more clicks, and you're there. And finally, if you want to do donations or super chats in the future, you can use the Streamlabs or just talk in the chat. This show is free, so it's always going to be free. I appreciate the people who helped donate. The people who helped donated helped me put together my new studio that I'm putting together. So that's great, and I'll always try to improve the show. Always try to improve my videos. So that's it for today, people. I gotta go. Thank you so much. My name is P Dog Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, this is P-Dog Knight, and thank you for watching today on the P-Dog Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterward so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through the Streamlabs link, which is also in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.